as a special Easter episode of my Jim Prophet channel, I'm going to do something different here. It's going to sound like an amazing atheist video, but it's not intended to. This is what I actually believe and feel. I see a lot of people telling their kids about the Easter Bunny and Santa Claus, and I have some advice for all these parents and anyone else perpetuating the lie. Don't teach your kids about imaginary friends that you don't believe in yourself. It's that simple. A lot of Christians and a lot of religious people in general get offended when nobody believes in their deities, but yet they're willing to lie to a child's face and tell them that there's tooth fairies, Easter bunnies, Santa Claus, when we know all that shit is untrue. I mean, if that's not the biggest form of hypocrisy, what is? If you're going to tell your kid about anything, at least tell him about imaginary forces you yourself believe in. And I know I could say that in a better way. I know I could word that in a more subtle manner instead of saying imaginary forces. But the fact is, Santa Claus, Tooth Fairy, and Easter Bunny aren't real, and yet you perpetuate them. So then when people say that your God isn't real, suddenly you get butthurt, and suddenly you want to claim offense. It doesn't work that way. And I don't see any reason why we should hold any punches against you when you're willing to lie to your kid's face and then turn around and expect him to believe in a God, when every other time that he's believed in an imaginary force, it's proven not to be true. So, save your lies for the lies you yourself believe. Like, I would tell my kids there was a God, but I'm not going to tell my kids there's a Santa Claus or an Easter Bunny or a Tooth Fairy, because I know that that's full of shit. If I don't know something is full of shit, I will tell him. And if other people tell him that there is no God, well then, that's what they believe, And there might not be a God. I'm not going to, try to shove it down his throat, but, I've come to that conclusion myself. So, I'm going to raise my child that way. In other words, I'm going to teach him what I know, teach him what I've experienced, and from there he can make his own decisions. Because frankly, my sort of religion does not believe anyone else needs to be religious. It's sort of like Warhammer 40k. The Chaos Gods don't give a fuck how you feel of the matter. They're gonna manipulate you one way or another. So, maybe that would teach my kid. Maybe it wouldn't teach my kid the supernatural entities going on around him, but it would certainly teach him the grim, dark reality of our world, that, everyone's always trying to manipulate you or fuck you over or, take advantage of you, find weaknesses in you to exploit. And those are, in fact, factual things that go on in our daily life. And, some people might say that children need faith, and that children need, to believe in these magical people and magical things because they're children and they're innocent. Well, then use their innocence for something good. Make them have faith in charity and hope and love and friendship. Those are concepts that don't need any kind of imaginary being in order to persist. So, why aren't you teaching them those things? I mean, it's fucking Christmas and Easter after all. It's the resurrection of Christ. Why don't you teach them about the resurrection of Christ and about how, this one guy who had godlike powers and, to some Christians, was God, was willing to sacrifice his own life for the sins of man, all the putrid scums of the earth. We are as insects unto God, and in his infinite compassion, he was able to go against his own pride in order to sacrifice himself for us. And that says something. That says something that when you have that kind of power, when you have that kind of, effort, you have a responsibility because you know better. Because, you have this opportunity to save everybody. And to be selfish and to be self-oriented and, narcissistic is not godlike. If we are to worship God, we want to worship a good God that might love us, or at least has some kind of concept of justice and righteousness. Because I personally do not believe in an all-loving God, but I do believe in a just God and a righteous God that wants to purge the world of evil. And there is a difference there, but I'm not going to get into that now. What I'm merely getting into is the fact that you could teach those values to your child, and there's no need for a fucking Easter Bunny or Santa Claus or any of that shit. All this is going to do is fill his head with lies, and eventually he's going to figure out that they're not true, and he's going to be sorely disappointed, and then he's going to question other things. And if you're a religious person, this is bad on you. Now, I'm not just saying that it's Santa Claus and Easter Bunny and the Tooth Fairy that make people atheists. That would be jumping to conclusions. But it certainly doesn't help, and it certainly doesn't look good on you to perpetuate these lies and then make him believe that he can trust you with anything, that he should tell you the truth, and that, you know, we should always trust our parents and shit when they're willing to lie right to our fucking faces over cultural norms. So, you know, what do you want me to tell you? That it's okay to lie? That it's okay to perpetuate an existence of a supernatural being that you know does not exist? You know, it's ridiculous. And I just don't see the point. So, this is something I need to talk to Samantha about because, you know, obviously it takes two to make a child, and I don't know how she feels on the subject matter. I take this pretty seriously because I would not want to expose our children to anything that I myself would not think or believe. Not to say that I don't want them to have their own thoughts, but that, you know, unless I know it to be true, or at least I feel strongly about it, I would not want to make them think something that isn't real, something that isn't there. So I'm not going to fill their head with lies about school, about work, about, you know, being a good person, or any of that bullshit. I'm going to tell them straight up, people will fucking lie to your face. People don't care about you. They will treat you like shit. They will smile in front of your face and then stab you in the fucking back. It doesn't get any better. It just gets different. The evils that he will experience as a child will only evolve and develop and get weirder as he grows up. You know, when you have to deal with the school bully who beats the crap out of you, who picks on you, takes your lunch money, that'll evolve into your employer who takes your labor and, you know, torments you and picks on you and shit. But meanwhile, you gotta kiss his ass because he's your boss. It doesn't get any better. In fact, the only thing about childhood is it toughens you up for the eventual evil that you will face in everyday life as an adult. And eventually, you'll die. You'll get old. People will start to leave you alone because they know you're pretty much in the grave already. And then you die. That's it. I don't know if there's a life after death. I don't know if all of this was worth it, and that in the end you'll be rewarded for sticking it out for the long haul. You know, and nor do I know if that there is a just God, that just because there is a God does not necessarily mean there's a good God that's going to smite the wicked and give you everything that you desire and treat you really good since no one else treated you good. I cannot guarantee that. But what I can guarantee is that I, as your father, as your friend, as your sibling, whatever relation I have to you, I will give you the utmost truth to my understanding. I will always tell you the truth. I will always say it with sincerity and passion because I care about you. Because I care about your psyche, and I don't want you living your life thinking that life is one way when it certainly isn't. I don't want you going around being nice to people that don't deserve it and then walk all over you. I don't want you to get your heart broken. I don't want you to have to get manipulated by con men who will take advantage of your naivety and, you know, take your money and shit. I don't want that to happen to you. But, you know, I can only do so much. So that's what I'm trying to say here. That's the kind of moral message you need to worry about. Not this fucking shit about having faith in things outside of your control. Because we already have no control. We should not dwell on that. We should not take pride in that. That is not something we should be happy about. We should try to find control in our lives. So, That's all I have to say.